SportsBit is powered by BetOnline, driving the opening odds market since 2001. Visit sportsbookreview.com to learn more about BetOnline and its A+ rated platform in the link below.
Hey, welcome into SportsBit. Betting Insight today, Hump Day, Wednesday, October 25th. We have you covered. One NBA game, one college football, one NFL, and Game 2 of the World Series. 4 big game breakdown to get to in a second. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. Huge show coming up. You can take your false narrative with Kershaw and stick it. First pitcher in World Series history with 10-plus strikeouts, no walks, and 3 or fewer hits allowed in a game. His last 7 decisions in the postseason. He's 6-1, and he has a save to boot. Dodgers have won 8 of his last 9 postseason starts. 3-1 LA. Game 1 goes to the Dodgers.
Yeah, and the money came for the Dodgers. The money came for the over. So they got it half right, and they got it half wrong. But certainly when it came to the 2 biggest at-bats of the night for LA, really no doubt. Taylor knew it. yeah, there's the pick right there. Boom, with Keuchel's first pitch. And, of course, Justin Turner knew it. Keuchel knew it, too, with the big 2-run bomb that was the difference in the ballgame. Turner now, look at this graphic.
Yeah.
All right, because it just stands out like a sore thumb. We don't think of Mr. Turner in this category. There's only 2 players in the history of baseball with a higher career playoff OPS with at least 110 at-bats. Those 2 players, Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig. Not bad guys to be mentioned in the same breath with.
Yes, you got that right. Game 2 coming up. We'll get to that in a second. Bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books. A horrific beat. You could call this a moose in the NHL. Action Network HQ with the tweet. Lightning Canes under 5.5. Tampa led 2-1 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left. Not 1, but 2 empty net goals. Usually only see that in playoff hockey, not in the regular season. Once they give up the first one, you say, okay, what the hell? That's over now. And then, okay, it's still 4-1, but Tampa scores again with 4 seconds left. 3 goals in the final 2:30, and it goes over.
Yeah, you can call that a moose if you wanted to. Certainly, though, I'll tell you what, though, Pauly, the worst beats in all of sports, the worst bad beats you're going to take are going to be on unders. That's just the nature of the game. Whether you remember that baseball game was nothing into the 14th inning. You know, the score's 5 in the top, the 6 in the bottom goes over 9.5. I mean, those beats can happen. Last night, a brutal one in the NHL for underbettors. Sorry, my condolences if you had the under in that one. That's tough to take, that final goal with 4 seconds on the clock.
Another good night in NBA and a lot of bad bets. The Cavs opened 14.5. You saw some 16s out there. They were losing in the second half against the Bulls. LeBron had a monster game. He led the way with 34 and 13. It was a struggle, but the Cavs won, never close to covering.
Yeah, and all right, red flag already. Ding, 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 ding. LeBron, this is an October game against the Chicago Bulls, one of the worst teams in the NBA. They may end up being the worst team in the NBA. And here's LeBron starting at point guard and playing more than 37 minutes already. That's certainly an issue. And of course, the Cavs never in the hunt to cover the point spread. This is not going to be a unique occurrence for Cleveland. This is a team that has absolutely nothing to prove between now and April.
No defense. 0. I don't understand this. The Knicks took money, +7 down to 9, blown out in Boston.
Yeah, you can answer the same question. Who the hell is betting the Knicks, and why are they betting the Knicks? They bet the Knicks heavy yesterday. Not with my money. Knicks still look like the same Knicks team from recent years, even though Carmelo Anthony has moved on to greener pasture.
Bad for the books. Pelicans, Blazers under 221.5. It opened in some shops down to 216. Never in doubt. Anthony Davis left with an injury. And it was 103.93. And the other one, Clippers in the under. There was some action on the under, but more on the Clippers, who went bet up from 3 to 5. Playoff revenge maybe against the Jazz. They won and blew out Utah. Don't look now. The Clippers are 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, the Blazers got a 63-41 kill on the boards after Brow got hurt. Some of that was Davis out, but some of that is the fact that, as we talked about on the show yesterday, Portland's been the number 1 rebounding team in the NBA through the first 3 seasons, and they continued that dominance again last night. As for the Clips, yeah, there was some playoff revenge in there. Really, it was one run. Utah forgot to come out of the locker room after halftime. The Clips went on an 18-2 run to open up the third. That was the ball game. That was very bad for the house, as you mentioned, with all of that money pouring in. There was heavy money on the Clippers last night and money on the under as well.
All right, NFL midweek line moves. They're up to a great start, but last week they went 2-3-1. Year to date, 20-10-2. Early money for the Vikings in London. That's up to 9.5 against the Browns. Who knows what they're going to do at quarterback? The Bengals. Look, that was a huge move. When you look at the look-ahead line against the Colts, Colts were horrible at home, shut out and blown out by Jacksonville. Raider money, Cowboys money, Redskins dealing with a ton of injuries.
Yeah, and all interesting games to talk about. Certainly, when you look at the fact that the Cleveland has absolutely no idea once again what they're going to do at quarterback this week. I think the latest that I saw this morning, they were going back to Kaiser after he got benched for the second time last week. The bottom line is markets like Minnesota's dominant defense against a weak offense from Cleveland. As for Indy and the money coming in on Cincy, look, it's been a rough season for the Colts. All three of the road games have been really ugly. They got Cincy in a beat 'em up spot. And oh, by the way, Indy lost 3 more defensive starters last week. Raiders Bills is an interesting one because if Oakland is power rated like they were earlier at the start of the season, they're road chalk in this ball game. The market's not sure exactly how to power rate either of these two teams, and we're seeing some movement as a result. And as for the Redskins, they're dealing with big-time injuries on the offensive line. Trent Williams and Brandon Sheriff both got hurt. Neither look like they're going to be able to go against Dallas this weekend.
Yeah, it just came down to, although he was benched for the second time in the last 3 games, Kaiser will start in London. He's been replaced by Kessler and Hogan the last few starts. Up next, Game 2 of the World Series. Verlander a dog? We'll get to that coming up, and we'll get to the Wizards. Gortat not happy with the Ball family. It's coming up on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Hey guys, thanks for stopping by Sportsbook Review, YouTube's largest sports betting channel. Every day we're here giving you the most up-to-date news and info, all to help you make the best bet. On top of that, guys, it's free. So look, do us a favor, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, leave a comment or a question. Our goal here is to make sure that everyone becomes a smarter, better. So join the SPR Army today and start winning with Sportsbook Review.
Back on SportsBit, Betting Insight today. Time for Big Game Breakdown. Always sponsored and powered by Bet Online. Check out the bonus page, sportsbookreview.com, for the latest and best offers to open a new account today. And any game we're talking about here, for the live odds, go to SBR Odds or SBR Picks as well. Game 2 of the World Series, 5 o'clock again on Fox. Astros, Dodgers. Verlander against Hill. Dodgers $1.10, 7.5 the total. Verlander, since joining the Astros, 9-0 with a 1.38, 67 strikeouts, 11 walks against the Yankees, 1 run over 16 innings, 21 Ks, 2 walks. He was awesome in Game 6. 163 of his 223 pitches in the strike zone. Do the Dodgers make him work and maybe try to see some pitches, which could actually backfire when you see what he's done in the postseason?
Well, sure. I mean, Verlander has been as good as anyone. And note that record. He only has 8 starts, and he's 9-0. The one time he came in out of the bullpen, the Astros rallied from behind, talking about, hey, our Bulldogs in the game. We got to come up with something. And they won that game as well. Certainly, Justin Verlander, when you list pitchers I'm looking to bet against, he's not anywhere near the top of the list here in the postseason. But you're absolutely right about what the Dodgers do and have done all season, making pitchers work and, forcing them 5, 6, 7, 8 pitches for every at-bats. Now, their 10.5% walk rate, the best in baseball since the Rockies had a 10.6% walk rate in 2008. If Verlander keeps throwing strikes, it's not going to matter. And the way he's thrown strikes the last couple of games. But it is worth noting, and again, it may be a meaningless sample size, very small. There's only 3 World Series games. 2 of them were back in 2006. But worth noting, Verlander career in the playoffs versus career in the World Series. That's a real good graphic for what he's done in the playoffs. When it comes to the biggest stage, Justin Verlander has not been quite as efficient.
Well, the bullpen did it again last night. That's 25 consecutive scoreless innings. So just get 5 strung out of Rich Hill. You should be okay. He's the number 2 for a couple of reasons. He's much better at home than on the road. And Darvish has been great in Houston. That's why he'll go in game 3. It's the biggest start of his life. He's 37 years old. His first World Series appearance. A couple of years ago, he was in the Independent League. So we'll see if he's ready to go tonight. I figure we get a big start out of him. 12 strikeouts versus 6 hits allowed versus the Cubs and the Diamondbacks, but only 9 innings in the 2 games combined. And here's the graphic home road splits: a 2.79 at home and a 4.06 away, and the home runs slightly up on the road. Strange here that I can get Verlander at a plus price.
Yeah, I mean, barely. At the same time, here are the Dodgers. Who can the Dodgers possibly be home dogs to? You know what I mean? We're talking about the team that's been the best team in baseball with a dominant home record. And it's not like Rich Hill has been garbage. Rich Hill's their number 2 starter. It makes sense that Dave Roberts wants to send him here as opposed to putting him out in Minute Maid in Game 3. There's some talk about readjusting the Dodgers rotation. That didn't happen. But let's not forget, with both of these hurlers, we are talking about a couple of guys on the wrong side of 37? And once again, in LA tonight, we are talking about near record-breaking temperatures. Last night, the first pitch was over 100 degrees. Going to be close to that again tonight. I worry about fatigue from the 2 starters, although obviously with the nature of that Dodgers bullpen, the fatigue from the starters may not hurt them all that much.
Couple changes. Seager will move up to number 2 in the order. Turner will hit number 3. And it was the hottest World Series game ever. Also the fastest World Series game since 1992, as game 1 only took 2 hours and 28 minutes. Doubleheader on ESPN. Here's game number 2. Nobody beats the Wiz. They're in Los Angeles to take on the Lakers. Wizards at 6, 229 the total. Wizards trying to start 4-0 for the first time since 1978. And they want a piece of the Ball family, especially the dad. Beverly told Lonzo to his face, you got a target on your back because of your dad. And look at this graphic. Lakers with Lonzo in 113 minutes. They've been outscored by 37 points. With Lonzo on the bench, 40 minutes, plus 16. That's amazing. So now they're pissed off that Gortat, after a tweet about Lonzo's dad, LeVar, saying he won't lose again in two times in a week. And Gortat comes back and says Wall's going to work him for 48 minutes and torture him. Wall is ready to go. He's fired up for this game because of the dad, Teddy. That's part of the handicap.
It sure is. But of course, the Lakers have paid attention to social media and the barbs going back and forth and the Gortat tweet. Here's the quote from Brandon Ingram from LA. Everyone at social media definitely saw it, talking about Gortat's tweet saying that Wall was going to torture Ball. Quote, the competitor in Lonzo, of course he didn't take it too well. And with his teammates behind him, we didn't take it so well. So for a regular season game, this one has the potential to be really feisty. And that could be a lot of fun. But, you talked about Ball. Let's flash that graphic up one more time just because it's so contrary to what we're getting from the mainstream media narrative. And that's what we like to do here on SportsBit. The mainstream media narrative is, oh, look at Ball. He's been amazing. And the reality is that the Lakers have been not just better, they've been significantly better with Lonzo Ball on the bench as opposed to being on the court. That is something the mainstream media is getting very, very wrong. Of course, the reason the team's been playing better with Ball out is because of Jordan Clarkson. Clarkson's been great as the 6th man. He didn't accept the role. He wasn't real happy about coming off the bench at first, but he's certainly taken well to it in the games. Look at the graphic here. 65 minutes of playing time so far this season. Got 59 points. He's been instant offense off the bench. Luke Walton. What I'm most proud about with Jordan is he's sticking with it. He was struggling in training camp and he was struggling in the preseason. He just kept working and working. He just keeps working. So that's a positive sign. Lakers bench isn't getting crushed every night.
Got him back in the game Sunday. They were down 21 at home to the Pelicans in the third quarter and then rallied to take the lead. And here we go again with the Wizards. The bench stinks. A big reason why they couldn't get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. And they're not off to a good start this year. They won at Denver. The starters had 83 points. The bench had 26. At home against Detroit, the starters had 93 points. The bench had 22. Wall opens with 73 points and 30 assists through 3 games. but he's averaging 35 minutes per game. And Morris is still hurt. Oubre into the starting lineup makes the bench even weaker, but it's only the second road game in 5 nights. They're off again on Wednesday. A little under money we're seeing with the markets. There's a high total. I saw 230.5 at some spots, and now you're seeing 228 in other places, Teddy.
Yeah, and I think we saw some under money come in for Washington the game against Denver the other day, and of course that under never in doubt wire to wire job. The total not realistic in my opinion compared to what it had, considering who the Wizards had been playing and who the Nuggets had been playing, and I think we're seeing some of that here. Look, it doesn't take much to take a total of 230 and knock it down a notch or two when the markets say Washington's not going to try to play at that pace. Although the Lakers' defense may not matter if the Wizards play at pace if their shooting efficiency is through the roof, like it could be rested and ready, as you mentioned, only second road game in 5 nights for the Wizards. And I'll tell you, Oubre is bringing it on both ends of the floor. I think he's better in the starting lineup than Morris.
Up next, NFL. Dolphins-Ravens on Thursday night, and Florida State and Boston College, plus the play of the day on SportsBit. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SBR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.
Wrapping it up, big game breakdown rolls on SportsBit. Pauly and Teddy, sponsored and powered by BetOnline. Exceptional customer service, strong promotions, every type of wager you're looking for. Thursday night, Dolphins and the Ravens. Baltimore 3 at home, 37 the total. Teammates like Matt Moore got in the playoffs last year, played okay before he got knocked up and beat up against the Steelers. In relief of Cutler last week, 13 of 21 for 188 and 2 touchdowns. They were down 14. They came back to win. Don't look now. Somehow, some way, the Dolphins are 4-2 after those early season struggles.
Yeah, and there's some really ugly numbers, Miami, when it comes to like yards per play differential, that if the Dolphins turn out to be a decent team, are going to offer residual value moving forward. The question is, are they a decent team? And look, I mean, the running story across the mainstream media is, oh, the Dolphins got a break. Jay Cutler got hurt. Here's my question. If Matt Moore's so good, if he's so capable, how come the first thing that happened when Tannehill got hurt is Matt Moore said, Adam Gase said, we got to go find somebody else? Is it a stubborn coach?
I don't know. Good question. Doesn't make any sense. Why was Tom Savage the starter over Watson? Good question.
Well, with Savage over Watson makes sense in the concept where Watson's a rookie. You want to give him a little bit more time, and you got a couple of tough games to open up the season. Maybe go to Watson a couple of weeks in. In this situation, this is a head coach who knows very well what Matt Moore brings to the table, and he looked at Matt Moore and said, I don't want him as my starter this year. I want somebody else. I'll bring in Jay Cutler, knowing the abuse that I'm going to take bringing in Jay Cutler. So the fact that Moore, I mean, again, he played well against the Jets last week, 13 of 21, $188, a couple of touchdowns, 1 interception, and 28 career starts. He's got 28 career starts. He had 3 last year. Miami went 2-1 in those starts. Moore had a 105.6 passer rating in those starts, threw 8 touchdowns. But the fact is, Gase didn't want this guy, and it's very different being the starter than coming off the bench. Just ask anyone that was looking at the 49ers with Beathard last week, the difference between starting and coming off the bench and getting hot. Here's a quote from Dolphins offensive lineman Juwan James talking about what Matt Moore brings to the table. Quote, Matt just comes in with a different level. I don't know if he's energy or presence because he's a second quarterback, so he knows he has to bring that. I feel that he does a good job of getting everybody to where they need to go and getting a boost of confidence to everybody just by how he is. It's worth noting the Dolphins should get Devontae Parker back on the field at wide receiver, giving them another downfield threat.
Well, Moore also might be better than Flacco. This is ugly. The Flacco decline. Look at this graphic. Yards per pass and passer rating. Gone down significantly every year. You see 2014. And you see the passer rating, the sack percentage. Then you see this year, 5.3 yards per pass and a passer rating of 70. He's 32nd in passer rating, yards per pass, and net yards per pass. He's had some injuries. Macklin missed a couple games. Perriman left early against Chicago. Wallace got hurt in the first quarter against Minnesota. He didn't have a lot of wide receivers available in that Minnesota game at the end, and they scored the garbage touchdown on the final play of the game. Who will be ready Thursday night? Harbaugh. Quote, I guess right now, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. The way it's been going with all that, we'll see. Whoever you see jogging out there at kickoff, they'll be playing. Up until that point, I don't know. I'd probably like to be coy with you and say I'm not going to talk about it. But at this point, it's like, we'll see. So that not a good quote there. Another thing cause for concern, the offense has been horrific. They are terrible against the run. Murray had 100 yards rushing last week. Baltimore can't stop the run.
Sure. I mean, whatever Ravens team we thought it was going to look like going into training camp isn't that team. Remember, they lost, a dozen guys in training camp to season-ending injuries. And that injury bug hasn't stopped. Flacco's going to take the heat because Flacco's the guy everybody knows. He's the quarterback. But when the top 3 pass catchers all hurt. I think it's the top 4 because everyone's banged up. I think the top 6 are all listed on the injury report. It's ugly in that regard for Baltimore. Offensive line decimated. Since Marshall Yanda got hurt, the Pro Bowl guard, they haven't been able to protect Flacco. And, of course, the defense is still forcing takeaways. They're number 2 in the NFL. They've got 16 takeaways. They had a game 2 weeks ago where they had 2 special teams touchdowns. They're still finding ways, but those ways aren't enough. The Ravens have been worse. When you get 2 special team touchdowns and still lose straight up as a favorite, ding, 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 red flag. We saw more of the same last week. This offense is flat out broken right now, and a short week isn't likely to help.
Yes. Last one, college football. Friday night, Florida State at BC. Seminoles 347.5 the total. Here's the last 5 in this series. Florida State closed 20.5 at home, 9.5 on the road, 16.5 at home, 24 on the road, and 29 at home. Meanwhile, Boston College is plus 60 ATS the last 2 weeks. Beat Louisville on the road and an easy win last week. Who was that? Against Virginia. They were underdogs and won by 30. The tough challenge for Fisher now. The season is over. They've had a terrible start. They've lost 4 games already. Fisher's challenging fans to a fight in the stands last week. Not good. The number of times Florida State has had 4 losses pre-November in the Fisher era, that's 2010 on, 0 until now. Jimbo, quote, we're coaching a season. We have to teach the players how to do it. They've done it before. We'll continue to do it the rest of the year. I have total confidence in our coaches and what they can do and the situations we put them in. We've got to learn to coach 3 to 5 plays better and get them to understand how to play better. They're also getting beat in tough, excruciating fashion as they're losing heartbreakers to Louisville and also Miami, their rivals.
Yeah, and look, there's a lot of issues that Florida State has this year. I don't know if they can solve any of them. All right, this is a team that was thinking about a national championship, and they were thinking about a conference title, and now they're thinking about being home for bowl season. They're 2-4. They're going on the road into a hostile environment. They're very young, that young offensive line. There's only one senior on the 2 deep for the offensive line. There hasn't been any consistency in the ground game. There hasn't been any consistency for pass protection. Florida State just isn't that good. And when you were reading off those lines, again, they're laying 24 on the highway the last time they're here. Now they're laying 3 2 years later. Speaks volumes about where this Florida State program is at right now. I believe that adjustment is fully warranted. I want no part of the Seminoles laying points in the highway.
So BC caught fire here the last couple of weeks on offense, which is a shocker. 550 yards in the win at Louisville and then 500 yards in the win at Virginia by 31. They went with Anthony Brown, the freshman, over the former starter Wade because he thought he had more upside. Then he benched Brown at Louisville because he started 5 of 17. Wade rallied them to the win. Then they put Brown back in against Virginia, and he was 19 of 24 for 275 and 3 touchdowns. So in the past, the offense has held the program back, but all of a sudden these pieces are in place where they're doing something. And that was supposed to be a letdown at Virginia, and they dropped 40 on them and 500 yards again.
Yeah, I mean, that was, to me, an absolute bet-on type of ballgame. When you see that type of performance in a letdown spot on the highway against a surging foe, the Cats have been playing good ball. And BC went in there, and they smacked them on both sides of the football. Certainly Brown, as a starter again last week, 19 of 24, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, bouncing back from that lousy showing at Louisville. And, of course, you have the Frosh, A.J. Dillon at running back. Last 2 games, 63 carries, 361 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Here's a quote from BC head coach Steve Adagio, talking about Anthony Brown at quarterback and the other freshmen who are getting playing time. Quote, "This is a tough league, and he's got to do it week to week, but he's shown us all along the line of signals of him having these kinds of performances. The bottom line is he's settling in. All those guys are starting to settle in a little bit. Does that mean the roller coaster rides are over? He's a freshman, a redshirt freshman, a true freshman, these guys. I mean, think about what's ahead with them. You're talking about 3 years with these guys of nothing but growth. One concern, Frosh in a big national TV game against a step-up opponent, sometimes he had a little bit of jitters, but on the other hand, BC right now might be the better of these two teams, certainly the more confident of these two teams heading into Friday night's game."
Amen. There you go. Money time, play of the day. This is the game. Betting number 112. BC +3 at home. Florida State was preseason. They were in the top 5. Lost to Bama. Francois got hurt, their quarterback. They're 2-4. You think they give a shit? I mean, the wheels have come off here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Fisher challenging a fan to a fight after he said, fire the coach. He says, come down and say it to my face. And then he defended his behavior, which I can't believe. BC going in the right direction. Florida State want to get the season over. We'll take the 3 at home, and we'll think they're up to it on national television. Tomorrow on SportsBet, it's next 2 weeks, fantastic college football games and a monster schedule. Penn State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, NC State, Notre Dame. We'll hit all those big games, recap Game 2 of the World Series, and a big card tonight in the association we'll recap as well. We'll talk to you Thursday on SportsBet. Betting Insight today on SBRPicks.com.